Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtuprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhakta Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, we're starting new chapter, chapter 32, the reunion. Text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukuvacha iti gopya pragayantya pralapayantyascha chitrutha rurudu suswaram rajan Krishna darshana lalasa. Shukdev Goswami said, O king, having thus sung and spoken their hearts out in various charming ways, the gopis began to weep loudly. They were very eager to see Lord Krishna. Tasamav iri bhuchori smayamana mukhambujaha pitambar dhara sragvi sakshan manmata. Then Lord Krishna, a smile on his lotus face, appeared before the gopis. Wearing a garland and a yellow garment, he directly appeared as one who can bewilder the mind of Cupid, who himself bewilders the minds of ordinary people. Tam vilokya gatam preshtam priti utfulla drishva balaha uttasthur yug pat sarvasa tanva pranam ivagatam. When the gopis saw that the dearmost Krishna had returned to them, they all stood up at once, and out of their affection for him, their eyes bloomed wide. It was as if the air of life had re-entered their bodies. Kachit karambujam shore jagrihe anjalina muda kachit dhar dadvahum anse chandana bhushitam. One gopi joyfully took Krishna's hand between her folded palms, and another placed his arm anointed with sandalwood paste on her shoulder. Kachit jalina griha tanvi tambul charpitam eka tangdangri kamalam santapta stanayor adhat. A slender gopi respectfully took in her joined hands the betel nut he had chewed, and another gopi, burning with desire, put his lotus feet on her breast. Eka bhrukatim abadhya prema sarambha vivala granti vakshat katakshepa sandashta darshan chada. One gopi beside herself, with loving anger, had bit her lips and stared at him with frowning eyebrows, as if to wound him with her harsh glances. Aparani mishadrigdhyam yushana tan mukhambujam apitam api natripat santastat charanam yatha. Another gopi looked with unblinking eyes upon his lotus face, but even after deeply relishing its sweetness, she did not feel satiated. Just as mystic saints are never satiated when meditating upon the Lord's feet. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the analogy given here of saintly person meditating upon the Lord's feet is only partially applicable, since the ecstasy the gopi felt when Krishna came back was actually unparalleled. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also reveals that this particular gopi is the most fortunate of all, Srimati Radharani. See, only acharyas can disclose all these secrets. Tam kachin netra randrena hridi kritva nimilya cha pulkangyu guyaste yogi vananda sampluta. One gopi took the Lord through the aperture of her eyes and placed him within her heart. Then, with her eyes closed and her bodily hairs standing on end, she continuously embraced him within. Thus immersed in transcendental ecstasy, she resembled a yogi meditating upon the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that the 7 gopis mentioned so far in this chapter are the first 7 of the 8 principal gopis, whose status allowed them to immediately approach Sri Krishna upon his reappearance. The Acharya quotes a verse from the Sri Vaishnava Toshani that gives the names of these 7 as Chandravali, Shyamala, Shabya, Padma, Sri Radha, Lalita, and Vishakha. The 8th is understood to be Bhadra. So these are the 8 principal gopis. There are 8 principal Sakhis of Radharani. Those are different. So these are the 8 principal gopis. Sri Vaishnava Toshani itself quotes a verse from the Skanda Puran that declares these 8 gopis to be the principal among the 3 billion, with the B, billion gopis. Detailed information about the hierarchy of gopis is available in Sri Rupa Goswami's Ujjwal Neelamani. The Padma Puran confirms that Sri Radha is the foremost of the gopis. Just as Srimati Radharani is most dear to Krishna, her bathing pond is similarly dear. Of all the gopis, she is the most beloved of the Lord. The Brihad Gautamiya Tantra also names Srimati Radharani as Krishna's foremost consort. The transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Shri Krishna. She is a central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is a primeval internal potency of the Lord. So that's the position of Srimati Radharani. And also it is mentioned in Rig Parishishta. Among all persons, it is Sri Radha in whose company Lord Madhav is especially glorious, as she is especially glorious in his. Sarvasta Keshava Loka Parmotsav Nirvrita Jahurvir Harjam Tapam Prakyam Prapayatha Janaha. All the gopis enjoyed the greatest festivity when they saw the beloved Keshava again. They gave up the distress of separation, just as people in general forget their misery when they gain the association of a spiritually enlightened person. Tabhir vidhut shokabhir bhagwan achyuto vrataha vairochata tikam tata purusha shaktir bhiryata. Encircled by the gopis who were now relieved of all distress, Lord Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of God, had shone forth splendidly. My dear King, Krishna thus appeared like the super soul, encircled by his spiritual potencies. The gopis are Lord Krishna's internal potency, and therefore when they were relieved and happy again, the Lord shone forth even more brilliantly than before, and his transcendental bliss increased. Krishna loves the gopis with pure transcendental love, and they love him in the same pure way. The whole affair conducted on the transcendental platform is inconceivable to those bound in material existence. So we just cannot understand it. Ta samadaya kalindya nirvishya pulinam vipu viksat kundam mandara surabhi anil shatpadam Sharat Chandrashu Sandoha Dhvastadosha Tama Shivam Krishnaya Hastatarla Chitta Komalavalukam. The Almighty Lord then took the gopis with him to the bank of the Kalindi, who with the hands of her waves had scattered piles of soft sand upon the shore. In that auspicious place, the breeze bearing the fragrance of blooming kunda and mandar flowers attracted many bees, and the abundant rays of the autumn moon dispelled the darkness of night. Taddarshana lad vidhut hridrujo manorathantam shrutu yatha yayo swaruttir uttriya kuch kunkumankitar Achiklapnasanam Atma Bandhave. Their heartache vanquished by the ecstasy of seeing Krishna, the gopis, like the personified Vedas before them, felt their desires completely fulfilled. For their dear friend Krishna, they arranged a seat with their shawls, which was smeared with kumkum powder from their breasts. In the 70th chapter of this canto, text 23, the Shrutis of personified Vedas pray as follows. These women fully absorbed their minds in meditation on Lord Krishna's powerful arms, which are like the bodies of great serpents. We want to become just like the gopis and render service to his lotus feet. The Shrutis had seen Krishna during his appearance in the previous day of Brahma and had become full of the most intense desire to associate with him. Then in this kalpa, they became gopis. And since the Vedas are eternal in human society, the Shrutis in this kalpa also become full of desire for Krishna. And in the next kalpa will also become gopis. This information is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The Shrutis, even Vedas, they are called Vedachari gopis. They also became gopis because this is how they wanted to serve the Lord. Tatropa Vishnu Bhagavan sa Ishvaro Yogeshwarantar Hirdi Kalpitasana Chakasa Gopi Parishad Gato Architas Trailokya Lakshmek Padam Babur Tatat. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whom the great masters of mystic meditation arrange a seat within their hearts, took his seat in the assembly of gopis. His transcendental body, the exclusive abode of beauty and opulence within the three worlds, shone brilliantly as the gopis worshipped him. The masters of mystic meditation include Lord Shiva, Anand Shesha, and other exalted personalities, all of whom keep the Lord seated within the lotus of their hearts. This same Lord, conquered by the intense selfless love of the gopis, agreed to become their boyfriend and dance with them in Vrindavan after sitting upon their fragrant shawls on the bank of the Yamuna River. But not before gopis are going to ask him questions. Sabhajitva tam anga deepanam sahasalile kshana vibram dhruva sansparshan ekang kritangri hastayo sanstutya ishat kupita vabhashire. Shri Krishna had awakened romantic desires within the gopis, and they honored him by glancing at him with playful smiles, gesturing amorously with their eyebrows, and massaging his hands and feet as they held him in their laps. Even while worshipping him, however, they felt somewhat angry, and thus they addressed him as follows. Shri Gopya Uchu Bhajato Anu Bhajanti Eka Eka Etad Viparyayam No Bhyansha Bhajanti Eka Etad No Bruhi Sadhu. The gopis said, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate towards them, while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. Yet others will not show affection toward anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. So indirectly they are blaming Krishna, but directly they were afraid he might disappear again. So they are asking question indirectly. So there are three kinds of people, they say. One, who are affectionate only to those who are affectionate towards them. Second, those who show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. And third, even if you show affection towards them, they will not show affection back. They're not reciprocate. So why is it so? By this apparently polite question, the gopis want to expose Lord Krishna's failure to properly reciprocate their love. They were very disturbed when Shri Krishna left them in the forest. And they want to know why he caused them to suffer in these loving affairs. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Mitho Bhajanti Ye Sakhya Swartha Kanto Dimahite Na Tatra Sohridam Dharma Swartha Artham tadhi nanyatha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, so-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. The Lord here reminds the gopis that in pure loving friendship, there is no sense of selfish interest, but rather only love for one's friend. Bhajanti bhajato ye vai karuna pitro yatha dharmo nirpava dvatra sohridam cha sumuddhima. My dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful or like parents, naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true, faultless path of religion, and they are true well-wishers. So, those who love even without any reciprocation, they are the true well-wishers. Bhajato api na vai kechit bhajanti abhajata kuta atma rama hi apakama akritagya guru druha. Then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled, or by nature ungrateful, or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them, but to speak of those who are inimical. Some people, being spiritually self-satisfied, do not reciprocate others' affection because they want to avoid entanglement in mundane dealings. Other persons do not reciprocate simply out of envy or arrogance, and still others fail to reciprocate because they are materially satisfied and thus uninterested in new material opportunities. Lord Krishna patiently explains all these to the gopis. Na aham tu sakhya bhajato api jantun bhajami amisham anuvritti vritte yatadhano labda dhane vinashte tachintayanyanibhrito naveda. But the reason so Krishna knew why they are asking this question. He is saying, no. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become they become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante. As people approach me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. Yet even if the Lord is approached by someone with devotion to intensify the devotee's love, the Lord may not immediately reciprocate fully. In fact, the Lord is truly reciprocating. After all, a sincere devotee always prays to the Lord, please help me to love you purely. Therefore, the Lord's so-called neglect is actually the fulfillment of the devotee's prayer. Lord Krishna intensifies our love for him by apparently separating himself from us. And the result is that we achieve what we really wanted and prayed for, intense love for the absolute truth, Krishna. Thus, Krishna's apparent negligence is actually his thoughtful reciprocation and the fulfillment of our deepest and purest desire. See, he says in the beginning, I don't just give myself immediately. I want to intensify that devotee's love for him, for me. So I show up myself and then I go away, kind of. So that intensifies his love. According to the Acharyas, as Lord Krishna began to speak this verse, the gopis looked at one another with squinting eyes, trying to hide the smiles breaking out on their faces. Even as Lord Krishna was speaking, the gopis had begun to realize that he was bringing them to the highest perfection of loving service. So he further says, Evam madortha jitta lokaveda swanam hi vo mai anuvrittaya abbalaha maya paroksham bhajata tirohitam masu yitum marahat tat priyam priya. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion of the Vedas and of your relatives. I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your side by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me, your beloved. Here the Lord indicates that though the gopis were already perfect in their love for him, still to inconceivably increase their perfection and show an example for the world, he acted as he did. So this is why gopis are so dear to him. They had rejected authority of worldly opinion, Vedas, relatives, everything. And even though Krishna disappeared, they still prayed for him to come back. This is real test, real test. And that's why Krishna says, I never stopped loving you. And then comes the last shloka of this chapter, but the perfection of Gopi's love. But Krishna says, Na parya aham nirvadya samyujam susadhu krityam vibudha yushapi va yama bhajanda durjar gehe shrinkhala samrishya tadva pratiyatu sadhana. I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Even Krishna is unable to repay the debt. What is the debt? For the service, the surrender, the mood that gopis have for him. Even within a lifetime of Brahma. That's very long life. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, see, he says what? I cannot repay you. What is your compensation? Please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. The translation and word meaning for this verse are taken from Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In conclusion, the gopis became eternally glorious by their behavior in the Lord's temporary absence. And the mutual love between them and the Lord was wonderfully enhanced. This is the perfection of Krishna and his loving devotees. So he says, even I cannot repay you. He's so grateful to the love of gopis for him, especially of Srimati Radharani. But at the same time, there were, as it is mentioned, that like billions and billions of gopis. It was to purify them also, and it was to bring them and bring them up on the conjugal love and remove even any tinge whatsoever left. Of course, there's no material desire, but anything, any impurity left should be removed. And Krishna did this with his going away from the company of the gopis. See, this is amazing. If somebody says, "Oh, what kind of God is he? He cannot even repay the debt," he should have given them something, but not for gopis. For us, whatever little bit service we do, not a whole lot, not with a pure heart anyway. So he takes care. Okay, even if we cry, okay, Krishna, I want you. And then Krishna, he gives some material position. Okay, take some material opulence, some position, something. And if we are still not satisfied, he gives some, okay, because in bhakti everything is included, even the yogic siddhis are there. He gives some siddhis, some power, something material. If we still say, no, Krishna, I don't want all this, I want you only, then he can give some other higher position, some liberation. What is the big deal for him to give liberation? No, Krishna, I just want you. That's where the tests are. He will test. Even the gopis were tested. And if we still hanker for him only, then he will give. love for himself. So that's why these chapters are the smile on his lotus face, these 5 chapters. Very, very beautiful. So anyway, so thus ends the purports of 10th canto, 32nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Reunion. So tomorrow we'll start the 33rd chapter, the Ras Dance. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my
Hare
humble
Krishna.
obeisance.
Please
Prabhuji,
accept
the real suffering starts actually when we realize that what Krishna do for us, not when we are ignorant, right? Like when we are not aware of Krishna conscious things and all, then we are not actually suffering, even though we are suffering, but we don't realize it. But actual suffering comes into picture when actually we see that Krishna has done this much to us and what we are doing and what the hell life we are leading here. Is it the right understanding?
But if we are making progress and then something happens and there is an obstacle in our service, then what? Then do we stop? Do we carry on with some grudge in our heart? Do we carry on still being thankful to Krishna? Okay, Krishna, whatever happens, it was my karma. I will still carry on with my services and with more intensity. It depends on us. So it's all Krishna's way of purifying us. Some take less time to get purified. Those who are already on a higher level, some take more time. That's all.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And definitely tests will be there. That's for sure.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
compared to Vrindavan temple, which ISKCON temple is the best in your opinion as far as prayers go?
As far as prayers go.
Yeah, the evening kirtan and the morning kirtan, which ISKCON center has the most?
That's a hard question, and this is getting recorded. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
But if you ask with Mayapur, definitely Mayapur, lots of kirtan going on all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
But every temple has wonderful kirtan program.
My dream is to kind of retire in close to one of the temples where our leftover life is basically for Krishna.
We all are working on that. Let's see if something works out. So.
Okay. Bob.
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Thank you, Mata. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Okay.